We failed you. Accused you and banished you. And you prayed for the gods to punish us. So they inspired our enemies. And sent savages. They took our land, sieged our city, to slaughter husbands, wives, and children. We are the city you loved. But we are destined to be the world. Marcus Furious Camillus, Rome needs you.
Roman Republic, Latin, Residentia Publica Romana, is the name given to both the regime of government and the period in the history of ancient Rome that followed the royal period and preceded the imperial era. This period traditionally begins in 509 BC with the fall of the monarchy. The last holder of the royal title, Tarquin the Superbus, an Etruscan, was then driven from power by Brutus in a revolt led by the patrician aristocracy. Diodorus Siculus briefly mentions the battle, which dates back to 472 BC. In Italy, the Romans were at war with the Vejians. They fought a great battle near Cremera. The Romans were defeated, and among the many dead, according to some historians, were the 300 Fabians, all from the same family and belonging to the same religious denomination. These are the events that took place during this period.
Rome is at war. The Etruscans of Veii have been our enemies for many years, and since peace is out of the question, we must bring them down by force of arms. The proud Volsci of Latium are carefully observing the conflict, and will undoubtedly strike should we provoke their ire. In such a conflict, we might try to ally with the Hernici. Meanwhile, rumor has it that a new threat is stirring beyond the lands of the cowardly Sabines and docile Umbri. Be mindful, yet brave.
Current knowledge of the events of this period is based primarily on the work of the Roman historian Tite-Live, nicknamed the Paduan. Born in 59 BC, Rome was in danger of disappearing in the shadow of Veii. First skirmishes. In 478 BC, the Vejians, weakened by the plundering expeditions launched by the Romans from the fortress of Cremera, appealed to the other Etruscan cities to send reinforcements. The Etruscans then launched an attack on Cremera's fortress of Fabii.
Of all the glorious Etruscan cities, Tarcuna shines as an emerald atop a pile of pearls. Its vast and fertile lands are home to many artisans, traders, and artists. Though their skills are much envied by the other Etruscans, it is unlikely that this envy will lead to bloodshed. Only the city of Veii is the black sheep in the Etruscan flock. Its king wages a pointless war against the Romans, and there is no telling what the limits of his aggression will be. Great care is required. If the Veientines or anyone else conquers Tarcuna...
But the consul Lucius Aemilius Mamercinus attacked with his legions and repelled them with a sudden cavalry charge that surprised the enemy. The Veians and their allies retreated to their camp before it was captured by the Romans. A few days later, the Etruscans requested peace, which Lucius Aemilius granted them after receiving the Senate's approval, though without fulfilling any binding conditions. The Senate blamed him and denied him the credit of victory. Very quickly, the Vans broke the truce and resumed the offensive. In the ensuing battles, the Fabians allowed themselves to threaten the enemy on their own territory and win several victories and skirmishes over one of the most powerful cities in Etruria. These repeated victories humiliated the Vans and emboldened the Fabians, who became increasingly reckless, taking ever greater risks. According to Denis of Halicarnassus, the Etruscans did not confront the Romans directly, but supposedly displayed their herds, attempting to lure them further and further into their territory through deception and offering little resistance, so that the Romans would become accustomed to being easily provoked. The Fabians, confident after their numerous successes, once again ventured into enemy territory, hoping to capture cattle. They were attacked from all sides by the enemy, who exploited their vulnerability to their accomplices. Initially submerged and surrounded, the Fabians concentrated their strength on a single point in the enemy lines. They managed to open a gap in the enemy ranks and retreat to the top of a small hill. They managed to hold the enemy at bay until a force of Vans reached the summit and attacked them from the rear. The Fabians were all killed. The Etruscans then carried their forces against the fortress of Cremera. Veji, as a powerful member of the 12 Cities League, it was constantly at war with the Roman Republic. Ostia, a delivery point for salt, and the Tiber River, a vital transport and trade route, were economically crucial for both cities, leading to conflicts. On the Roman side, Marcus Furius Camillus distinguished himself toward the end of this war, during the Gallic invasion, traditionally in 390 BC. According to other sources, 387 BC. Camillus was once again appointed dictator. The Gallic leader Brennus had defeated the Romans at the Allia River and subsequently captured and plundered Rome, except for the Capitoline Hill, which was defended by Marcus Manlius Capitolinus. Camillus assembled an army, drove the Gauls out of the city, and reclaimed the ransom they had received. As Titus Livius recounts, he persuaded the Romans to enter Veii through the water tunnels leading into the city, thus circumventing the siege. Thus, in 396 BC, they were able to end the 10-year war. The city was destroyed, its inhabitants enslaved, and the land declared public property. It is striking that Livy's description of the siege of Veii bears a strong resemblance to Homer's account of the siege of Troy. In 398 BC, the siege of Veii appears to be stalled. All the consular tribunes except Lucius Valerius Potitus and Camille leave to appoint the previous year's tribunes. Lucius Valerius devastates the territory of the Falisks, allies of the Etruscans. It is therefore, after a period of relative calm, that Livy places a new religious omen with an omenful account of the prodigy of Lake Alban, perhaps relying on brief mentions in the annals and developing this episode into a narrative lacking twists and turns. A lake in the forest of Alba is enlarged and rises to an extraordinary height, without any explanation for this miraculous effect, neither by the waters of heaven nor by any other natural cause. To discover what the gods had foreseen from this prodigy, the delegates were sent to consult the oracle of Delphi, but another performer had been placed closer to the scene by fate. An old man from Veii, amidst the jeers exchanged between the Roman guards and the Etruscan watchmen, sang these words in a prophetic tone: "As long as the waters of the lake of Alba remain, the Roman will not be master of Veii." Thus fell Vis, the most opulent city of the Etruscan name, and its very ruin revealed greatness. Indeed, after 10 summers and 10 winters of an unrelenting stance, having suffered more than the damage it had endured, in the end, pressed by a higher fate, it yielded to the works of art, without the force having been able to reduce it. The distribution and use of the booty taken from the Vans was a source of tension between the plebeians and Camille. After vowing to reward Apollo, the god of Delphi, if he won the victory, Camille ordered that all who received a share of the spoils contribute a tenth of it to pay the sum dedicated to Apollo. It was because of this misunderstanding that Camille was forced into exile. This departure was then interpreted as a bad omen, foreshadowing great dangers that would materialize with the Gallic invasion a few years later.
The Veneti have defended their land vehemently against any would-be invaders. Their neighbors are well aware of Venetian bravery and the exceptional qualities of the Venetian horse. However, it remains paramount to always keep a watchful eye on your borders. To the north, the mountain-dwelling Raiti might decide to try their luck at any point. The same is true of the unruly Gauls, who prefer raiding to farming, and are known for their bloodlust rather than their goodwill. Come what may, mighty Diomedes of old protects the Veneti, and their sword arms are throbbing with his. The Samnites are famous for their honor and courage. In recent years, they have maintained peace with their Frentani and Pyleni kinsmen, while forcing Daunian and Lucanian raiders to recognize the superiority of Samnite swordsmen. As the hills of Samnion grow overpopulated, they must settle elsewhere. Yet the ancient ritual of Ver Sacrum is hardly an option. This is why the Samnites must march into Campania, to claim its verdant pastures and rich ports. Once the Greeks are driven away, and their land has been conquered, the Samnites could turn their gaze towards Latium, and the city of Rome beyond. The city of Taras is named after the son of Poseidon, and considers the sea god to be its founder. Currently, Taras' importance and influence has grown over nearby areas, but so have threats from nearby. The Iapygian tribes of Apulia and Calabria both covet the wealth of Taras, and fear its hoplites, who are said to be descended from the Spartans. The Lucani people to the north also need to be closely watched, as their fickle nature might make them suddenly aggressive. All is not grim, however, as with proper incentives, other Greek poleis on the southern coast of Magna Graecia may be willing to lend their aid. For Dionysius of Syracuse, power is only a tool with which to gain more power. Having consolidated his grip over the magnificent polis and nearby cities, the tyrant is preparing to unite all Greek communities in Sicily one way or another. Only in this way will Syracuse be able to thwart the threat of the intolerable Carthaginian invaders, who defile Sicilian soil with their presence. Once they are forced out for good, Dionysius can turn his attention towards Magna Graecia, home of yet more Greeks. They will be forced to acknowledge his supremacy. The Lolii of Sardinia are an ancient and indomitable people. Once they shared the Isle of Sardinia with other tribes of the same blood. Then the Carthaginians came and claimed the coastland for themselves. The time has come to rise and drive the insolent invaders into the very sea they came from. The Volari have often sworn they are brothers to the Lolii. Yet when push comes to shove, they may hesitate. Either awaken their strength in the upcoming fight, or conquer them and take their land. Sardinia is the first arena of battle. Be worthy of Of all the Gallic tribes that crossed the Alps, the Senones were the last. They have since reached the Adriatic coast and conquered some land of their own. Now their chief, Brennus, ponders his next move. To the north are the Boii, wild and unpredictable, yet kinsmen nonetheless. To the south is the dominion of Etruscans and Umbri, idle and slow peoples, as rich as they are complacent. Their warriors are no match for Senone swordsmen, who are ready to march to hell if there is loot. Many years ago, King Bellovesus led several Gallic tribes across the Alps. The Insubres were among the first, and they founded the formidable city of Mediolanum. Now they are surrounded by tribes fierce and treacherous, such as the Lepontii and Raiti of the northern highlands. Gauls inhabit the plains south of Mediolanum. Their chieftains could easily forego the bonds of blood due to unbridled avarice. The Ligurians are also a serious force, as their taciturn warriors are eager to avenge any aggression tenfold, even an imagined slight. Despite all this, opportunities for prosperity abound.
die Welt das Schwert des Jungen zerbrochen hat, wird die Spitze des Wolkenkratzers erreichen und auf den Turmbau zu Babel lachend hinunterblicken.